Thank you, Annie. I'm usually better prepared than I am tonight. I just got back in town.
Where is he?
I'm gone from the beach.
Where?
I didn't do good. Uh-huh. You did.
Which column? The middle one? That's interesting.
Welcome, everyone. Good to have you here tonight. If you would please stand, and we want to welcome, we have two scouts from Troop 241 who are going to come forward and lead us in the pledge and remain standing after that for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. We sprung that on them at the very last minute, so we appreciate you. And next, we're honored to have a special citizen here tonight, Mr. Shane Moore, to deliver the invocation. Shane, many of you know, he's a community advocate. He's director of Impact Soccer, co-founder of Cherokee Connect Collective, president of Cherokee, excuse me, I don't have my glasses on, Cherokee Youth Foundation, and the new CEO of Women's Premier Soccer League, Georgia Impact Professional Women's Soccer League coming to Canton, Georgia. So a few of the things he does. So Mr. Moore, please. Welcome for the invocation. So.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for just allowing us to live in this great community. Please bless the leaders and the citizens in the area. Continue to give them wisdom as we grow and move along in the things for you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Shane. We appreciate you. So let's call our May 19th meeting to order. We'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, revisions? Mr. Carlin?
I'd like to place an item under council introduced items,
Yes.
just to give a brief note about sanitation committee's work and letter that you all have. We'll take it up then.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional items or motions?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. We're excited tonight, guests and visitors. We have Chief Merrifield here tonight for a special employee recognition. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have a few employees we want to recognize tonight, which I think is also fitting that this is National Police Week. We just had our Police Memorial Day, which is it is the same as our Military Memorial Day, where it's not so much a joyous holiday, but it's a day where we remember the men and women who laid their lives down for their community, for their country. And I take a second to say that back in 2010, when I was at the FBI Academy, I was there during Memorial Week in Washington. And one of the things that they do there is on the Sunday of Memorial Week, they bus all of the children and spouses of officers who have been killed in the line of duty to Quantico. And the FBI students and the NA students have different stations where they're out there. We play games, have food. And I can remember when I was standing there waiting on the buses, and they had this motorcade of motorcycle officers from all over the country, and it was a huge motorcade. But one of the things that was most striking was the number of buses that pulled in that day and the number of children and spouses that got out of those buses. And each one of those children had a lanyard with a picture of their father or mother and the date that they were killed in the line of duty. And even as long as I've been in this business, that was a part of it I never really pictured. And I think when we see those blurbs in the media of an officer killed in the line of duty, we have to remember that there's probably a spouse and there's probably children that are left to pick up the pieces. So while it's important that we remember those officers killed in the line of duty for their memory, but I think it's also important that we remember those officers for those survivors and those spouses and children. So with that being said, we want to honor some of our employees tonight. Officer Dalton Witt, who is not here with us tonight, he is one of our new officers. He started last week in FTO. He came to us from Bartow County Sheriff's Department after serving in the Marine Corps for 4 years. And I feel very comfortable that there will be a day I'll be in front of you with him, giving him one of these awards and one of these recognitions. Tonight we also have Lieutenant Jesse Ray. Lieutenant Ray has reached his 10-year anniversary with the City of Canton Police Department. Prior to coming to us, he was with Gainesville Police Department for approximately 5 years, so he has 15 years of service. So we want to recognize him tonight and thank him for his dedication and loyalty. We live in a world where you don't see employees stay 10 years and longer anymore. So when you do see those employees that do that, we want to recognize and thank him for his service. Captain Matt Baldwin. We're recognizing him tonight for 25 years of service. This makes him the second longest serving officer with our department behind Lieutenant Lummis, and I think it's a couple of months difference between them on the seniority. I had thought about maybe Googling and finding out what songs were popular 25 years ago, but and what was popular 25 years ago. But again, it's amazing when we talk about somebody that's given 25 years to this profession and to the city. As with Jesse Ray, the numbers of children's birthdays that are missed, the number of friends' weddings and anniversaries that are missed, the holidays that are missed. And again, as I've said in here, it's 25 years of getting to see the best in humanity and sometimes seeing the worst in humanity. So we thank Captain Baldwin for the 25 years of service with our agency and to the citizens of Canton. Citizens of Canton. And lastly, Officer Aaron Fuller-Wider, who has been here before for this very same type thing, for a life-saving award. I'd like to read this for Officer Fuller-Wider. This was something that was wrote by the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Driscoll. But before I do that, I do also want to congratulate Officer Fuller-Wider because she has just completed drug recognition expert school, which is a very, very difficult school to even be allowed to attend and then to graduate. I think that we taught today, and there's probably only 300 in the state of Georgia. There's only 35,000 in the world. It's an international. And it's a very difficult class where they go through and learn the different signs from different drugs. And it's just about one step below medical school by the time you get through. But it is a very difficult school to accomplish, and she has done so. And in speaking with her, her next step is to become a DRE instructor, which would make her the first female DRE instructor in the state of Georgia. So we certainly support that and hope that we know that will occur. So to her life-saving medal, I want to read the memorandum or the letter from the Sheriff's Department. On 3/28/22 at approximately 17:52 hours, that's 5:52 p.m., the Sheriff's Office was dispatched to an accident with unknown injuries at the intersection of Bells Ferry Road and Butterworth Road. While responding, dispatch stated a male was unresponsive. Additionally, citizens on scene broke the window and extracted the male to begin CPR. While Officer Leonard was traveling home from a 12-hour shift, she had just passed the intersection when the call was given out. Officer Leonard could have easily just continued on her way, but instead she turned around and was first on scene. According to witnesses, Officer Leonard instinctively began life-saving efforts. She quickly realized the male had possibly overdosed. She administered 1 dose of Narcan and took over CPR. When Deputy Ball from the Cherokee SO arrived, she administered a 2nd dose of Narcan provided by Deputy Ball and continued CPR until fire and EMS arrived and took over. A short time later, fire and EMS advised he had a pulse and was beginning to breathe on his own. The male recovered and was transported to Northside Cherokee Hospital. His survival is a direct result of Officer Leonard's selfless service and quick actions. Officer Leonard knows the meaning of servitude. I truly appreciate her willingness to go out of her way to offer such assistance. Please extend my sincere appreciation to Officer Leonard. And I also appreciate her dedication to duty, to hear a call on her way home that wasn't in her jurisdiction and respond and end up saving a life. So thank you so much, Officer Fullenwider. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Chief. And congratulations and thank you, Lieutenant Ray, Captain Baldwin, and Officer Fuldenwider. Congratulations on your accomplishments and thank you all for all you do for our city and citizens. Next, you have in your packet our council meeting draft minutes from the May 5th meeting. Do we have any corrections, revisions to those, or a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion to approve and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. We have 2 informational items this evening. These are technical reports for information only, no discussion for 2 upcoming cases. Item A for information only is MPA 2203-010, Master Plan Amendment request to allow for the operation of a brewery in Pod B of the development commonly referred to as Laurel Canyon. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you have stated, this is a master plan amendment request for the Laurel Canyon Shopping Center. And Mr. Baggio has looked at a couple of places here in town. He started out at a Laurel Canyon, thought he had another place out on Highway 20. That didn't work out, so he is now back at the Laurel Canyon Public Shopping Center looking for a master plan amendment to allow a brewery as an allowed use in Pod B of the Laurel Canyon development. And the public hearing for this will be on June 2nd, when you'll have a more detailed staff report.
Thank you. And then the second information only item is B, RZON 2203-002 and CUP 2204-001, rezoning and conditional use permit request for 830 and 850 Marietta Road.
These 2 requests involve 2 separate properties that are side by side of each other on Marietta Road. It started out originally as a rezoning request for 850. They wanted to go from ORT, which is Office Residential Transition, to RA8. And Mr. Latimer was going to develop another one of his rental communities where he was going to build 12 duplex units. And discussing some financial assistance from the Housing and Urban Development Authority, HUD, they requested that he incorporate some quadplex buildings in his design. So he has done that, and of course that is 3 or more attached units, which now necessitates the conditional use permit request. And he is now looking to do 4 duplex and 4 quadplex units should he get his rezoning. And again, this will come before you on June 2nd at a public hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Green. Do we have any other announcements? We have no one signed up for the 10-minute public input and nothing on the consent agenda, so we'll move into old business. Item A, discussion and possible action on ZCA 2204-004, request to amend zoning conditions that pertain to development commonly known as Park Village. Mr. Green?
As you're aware, the public hearing was held the first Thursday of this past month, and there was quite a turnout from the surrounding neighbors and residents. This is to develop 36.9 acres into a industrial, office, commercial, residential development. In your staff report, we provided some suggested conditions. If you are so inclined to approve this, I've had some conversation with their representative, Mr. Huff, and they would like a change to condition 1. And the proposed rewording of this is, there shall be a 50-foot buffer along the northern and eastern property lines. The first 25 feet of this buffer shall be planted with plantings to provide an opaque screen to the abutting properties. Virginia pines and eastern red cedars shall not be used. All other plant material shall be selected from the City of Canton's plant palette. There shall be an additional 25-foot building setback along the eastern property line adjacent to the residential lot and amenity area of Park Village. And along the northern property line, that 50-foot buffer shall be replanted where sparsely vegetated. There is a pretty good planted area next to the Moss Point subdivision, so there is no point in going in there and taking out what is there and recreating the wheel with new plantings. In addition, in an email from Mr. Huff, the applicant has committed that buildings 8, 9, and 10, as shown on the submitted site plan, shall be used only for commercial or retail and office space. These are the buildings that are closest to the residents at Park Village. So in an effort to keep the industrial uses a little further away from them, they have offered this condition as well.
Thank you. So on the buildings 8, 9, and 10, is that an additional condition?
Yes, sir.
So would that be condition number 7?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
So you read the change to 1. Could you read the other conditions just so for the record that you're suggesting? So.
Condition 1 has been changed, as I just read. Condition number 2, all perimeter site lighting shall face inward toward the subject property. Wall packs shall not be allowed on any exterior building wall. A traffic study shall be submitted with the land disturbance permit application. Delivery hours shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday. There shall be no Sunday deliveries. The Native Plant Rescue Society shall be allowed to access the property prior to any land disturbance in order to search for and remove any endangered plant species. The proposed parking deck shall be designed so as to prevent direct viewing from the parking deck to the adjacent amenity area. And then number 7 would be buildings 8, 9, and 10 shall be used for office or retail space only.
Thank you, Mr. Green. I also wanted to just verify for the citizens I expected to be here, but who may be watching from home, that we did receive verification from Jeff Morton with the county that there will be a dedicated left turn lane into Park Village on the new roadway?
Yes.
Into Park Village? Right, correct.
And
Okay.
also at the intersection of Park Village and Technology Ridge Drive, there will be a stop sign for the Park Village residents, but Technology Ridge Drive will be a through street. In the future, if conditions warrant, they may put a 4-way stop there, but as of now, there's only a stop sign coming out of Park Village.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate the developer, and I mean, going through the notes and the citizens' concerns, I mean, I think everything has been addressed. Personally, my time on council, I don't think I've seen a commercial project come through here that's been this exciting, and with a developer of this quality and what they're proposing for solar energy and the quality and attention to development. I think it's, and the high-tech job opportunities for our citizens, which we're always looking for. I think is a very exciting project for the city. I really appreciate and value how they've worked with the citizens of Park Village. I think it demonstrates that they can be good citizens to their neighbors. I'm very excited about the project. I think it'll bring a lot of potential and value to the city. So, questions, comments? Ms. Wilson.
After hearing your glowing recommendation and studying it ourselves, I'd like to recommend that we approve the zoning conditions that pertain to the development commonly known as Park Village with the 6 conditions that Mr. Green read.
I think there'd be 7. The
7.
one that was added. Yes.
7.
Yes. Okay,
Well, he changed number 1 and
Right.
then added 1.
Added one.
So that would be
It'd be
6.
7. Yeah. Thank you.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. Thank you. Okay. Item B, discussion and possible action on MPA 2203-001, Bluffs Pod B, Phase 3, requesting master plan amendment to construct 112 single-family detached homes. Mr. Green?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, was just stated, this is an application seeking to construct 112 single-family detached homes. This particular Pod B Phase 3 is before you at the latter part of 2021. There was some concern about the townhomes that was proposed to be there. So the applications were withdrawn. They were allowed to be filed again. During that time, they last filed the application, I believe they met with some of you folks, and I won't say compromise, but a better plan was established and developed for these detached homes. The staff recommends approval of this request. In the staff report, you will find some suggested conditions. I've also been informed tonight that the property owner has committed to a $100,000 contribution to the city's affordable housing fund. So if you might want to make that as a stipulation or an additional conditions to the one that staff has suggested.
Great news. Mr. Green, can you read those conditions also just for the record that is being suggested?
The staff recommends approval subject to the following. The Native Plant Rescue Society be allowed to access the property prior to any land disturbance to search for and rescue any endangered native plants. The plants chosen for landscaping and screening purposes be selected from the city's plant palette. All streets within Pod B Phase 3 be private. And then the developer property owner has committed a $100,000 contribution to the city's affordable housing fund.
Thank you. Again, I think you were correct when you used the word compromise, and you corrected yourself. I think it was a collaboration, and I just, again, want to thank the developer and Mr. Huss for working with the city and coming back to us. I think everyone on council agrees that we got a much better product and project that we all can be excited about, and I think the offer of the $100,000 for our affordable housing program is very generous, and we're excited about that. So, other comments? Ms. McGrew?
Thank you. I'm very excited and happy that the applicant listened to council and was willing to make the compromises to what we were asking, and I feel that this product will benefit the community much more. It's less dense and really gives a feeling of home. So I would like to make a motion to approve the master plan amendment to construct 112 single-family detached homes with the conditions that Mr. Green read.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any further discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. Item C, discussion and possible action on Lou Oliver, Inc., design services for 70 Laurel Canyon Village Circle. Mr. Green.
As some of you may or may not be aware, the city owns an almost 2-acre parcel at the Laurel Canyon Village Shopping Center. Originally, this was going to be used as a fire station. Once the county and city fire services, fire suppression was consolidated, we ended up with a piece of property that we have struggled to come up with a plan for. I believe Mr. Peppers has been instrumental in looking for something to do with this property, and he has come up with a small-scale, maybe affordable housing plan. We contacted Lou Oliver with Lou Oliver and Associates, and we had a meeting with him a month ago, I guess. Mr. Oliver was there, a couple of his cohorts, and he has sent us a proposal to design or come up with a master plan for the area in terms of streetscapes and appearance. In your packet, you should have what his proposal was, and he is willing to do this for $5,000. There are some additional costs that may be incurred for separate meetings with him, house designs. I was under the impression that those were going to be included, but I was corrected that no, the individual house designs is not included in this. That will be a separate project. So this is on the agenda tonight for discussion and possible action.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Tolan, do you have anything
I do.
to say about this?
Yeah,
project?
so thank you for that report, Mr. Green. I'm really excited about this project. You know, this is, we've been talking about this for a long time, a couple of years now, Mr. Peppers, at least. And, you know, this is the first city-sponsored community that I've been involved with. And, you know, the fact that we're aligning ourselves with such a high-quality organization as Lou Oliver and his team really speaks to, you know, where we want to go with this, and that we're serious about it. We want it to be something that the entire community, the citizens of Canton and surrounding communities can look to, you know, kind of what would be a great model to move forward. And by that, I mean, coming out of this discussion, coming out of this proposal, once we're at the end of it, we're going to have a group of housing types that are of a similar palette that can be used all over the city for infill, for other communities. You know, there'll be some opportunities for citizens to utilize those plans in some form or fashion yet to be figured out. But I'm just really thrilled about the project, the fact that we've got such a high-quality organization working with us, and can't wait to get started on it. With that, I'd like to make a motion, if I may, that we approve this, the design services for Lou Oliver, Inc. for 70 Laurel Canyon Village Circle.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? I just want to reiterate my excitement for this project. I think it's, you know, just very innovative that what we're talking about here in the plan that Mr. Oliver and his team can deliver, that we can replicate throughout the city. I think it's setting the pace for affordable housing examples for, I think, the rest of the region to follow. So I'm really excited to get started. So no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. Item D, discussion and possible action to engage Schneider Electric for on-call energy sustainability services. Ms. Pendley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here on behalf of our Energy Conservation Services Program RFP that we issued earlier this year. Y'all probably remember from last month. But tonight, Schneider Electric submitted a proposal for that RFP, and Ms. Jen Miller with Schneider Electric is here tonight to do a brief presentation and to answer any questions that Mayor and Council might have about their proposal. Jen?
everyone. It's great to see you guys again. I'm excited to be here tonight, not only to be moving forward with the next phase in this consulting relationship, but also just because of the impact that we can have. We know that HVAC here at City Hall is top of mind, has been for a little while, so we're going to make sure that we help the city come up with a solution that even in the middle of a hot Georgia summer, no one's going to be sweating in their office and no one's going to be uncomfortable. But even more than that, we're going to help the city kind of identify all the potential technologies that make the city more efficient and what makes sense here in Canton, because it's not the same every single place. So then on top of that, we're really going to work hand in hand with Kelly and advance y'all's sustainability initiatives and make y'all a true leader in sustainability. You've already started that ball rolling, and we just want to keep that going for you guys. So we're going to help you guys become a certified green community. We're going to help bake out your sustainability plan, and we're going to make sure that your citizens really understand the impact that you all have had as a council and your staff on really committing to sustainability as a core tenet. So, with that, moving forward tonight, we're asking that council approve the motion to select us as your energy sustainability consultant. We're really excited for this partnership, and we think that the most immediate next step would be to work with the sustainability committee to really bake out, okay, what opportunities are there for the city of Canton? What are the priorities here, and what would an initial phase of work really look like? So we're just excited to be here, and we'd love to answer any questions. My colleague Emily Gooden is joining me tonight, and so definitely want to open it up to you all for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions? Mr. Waterman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening. So one question that I have, and this stems from our last meeting, is that I think we've changed like an exclusivity. This is on-call energy sustainability services. So whenever we see a need or if there's an issue, correct? So not necessarily, and Nathan, if I get this wrong, just help me out here. But does that include setting a plan? Because on-call in my mind, means something different. As far as sustainability is concerned, sustainability roadmap or a sustainability plan doesn't equate out to an on-call service.
One of the other first projects that we've talked to Schneider as well as the sustainability community, Ms. Penley, about is doing a green initiative. Y'all, I butcher that program, the terminology. Is that and that involves taking a more in-depth look at what all of the processes and other projects that the city of Canton has going on and is going to engage in over the coming year or years, and look and see how we can do that and how we can manipulate those projects to fit into our sustainability. Okay. So, Mr. Waterman, I'd ask maybe just a little bit of clarification on that question. We have a sustainability tenet, I think, that is overreaching all of our projects. So, are you saying that? Are you questioning whether we're going to have a sustainability contract with Schneider?
We can start there, yes.
Okay. I don't personally foresee like a sole source contract with Schneider. I think the city always should have the option to either work with Schneider if it so chooses, or should it not choose on maybe hypothetically some smaller projects, choose to go it on its own. So I think we need to have that option to do that. So I would be inclined to say no on some type of sole source, restrictive contract like that. And maybe Ms. Penley or Ms. Miller has some different thoughts on
Okay,
that.
and I think, yeah, you're going down the right path. So let me go a little further. So if we do have a situation where we want to take a look at recommissioning some of our HVAC equipment, that's always a big topic, and we ask Schneider for help. Okay, where do we go from there? So are you designing a system? Are you getting vendors, or how do we go from 0, to 100?
Yeah, that's a good example.
The process.
In using that example, one of the things I could do, I could put out, we have two 30-ton units on the top of City Hall. Actually, I think one's 30, one's 32. That's irrelevant. I could do an RFP and put it on Georgia Procurement website, and I'll get bids in from all the different manufacturing installers of these 30-ton units. Mm-hmm. And I could simply say, come to council next month and come bring y'all the cheapest, cost-wise, immediately cheapest option. Is that the most sustainability? Is that the cheapest in the long term? Is that the most energy efficient HVAC unit? So what we can bring Schneider in, just analogous to what we do in traffic situations, bring an engineering firm to say, this is the best way to do this. This is the best way to organize your turn lanes, put 4-inch base, et cetera, et cetera. It's complex enough that we need Schneider to go in and say, I'll tell you what, we're going to do an RFP for you. We're going to design a HVAC system that is going to work for Canton, considering our sustainability tenet. It's going to work for Canton over the next 10, 20 years. We're going to put it out to bid, and we're going to collect those proposals, and we're going to come present to council and say, hey, wait a minute, although this one may be cheapest now, this fits your sustainability tenet over the next 20 years. This is the most efficient long term, and that's recognition. That's the part the relationship I see with Schneider.
Yeah, I understand. Cheapest is not always the.
That's right.
This achieves our sustainability goals. Okay, so as far as that's concerned, who will be performing the work?
Schneider will.
Designing the program, or doing the engineering, as far as the end goal of having a new system in place. Who would be installing or doing that?
That's unknown at the time. The contractor, whoever is part of the winning proposal.
And that contractor is selected by. No,
councils.
We will have that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Always.
Understood. Okay.
And and let me add another thing is Schneider is large enough, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, Schneider has a department specific to HVACs or that type of energy efficiency. They have a department, individuals that work with street lights. So it's not my expertise, and I'm not insulting, but it's not Miss Miller's expertise either. They have departments that handle this. Am I correct? And Brian, I forget the name. They have a department that handles HVACs, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I need to ask the question. And forgive me, I'm an engineer and an energy manager, so I ask the same questions every day.
I think just following up on that, again, for my clarification now. But this, tonight, we'd just be voting on to have them available for on-call services. We're not voting to hire them to do the design service or HVAC, or to do a sustainability plan for the city, or?
That's correct. There's two things that we.
No particular project.
Yes.
This would, we authorize them to do tonight. Okay.
I could foresee one of the first things that Schneider and Ms. Miller would like to do is sit down with the sustainability committee and go over that green initiatives list to kind of identify those projects. And there may be an option to next month bring forth, or the month after, bring forth back to council and say, here's the projects we've identified. Y'all tell us what's priorities. Here's some low-hanging fruit on our sustainability tenet. But I do know that the HVAC unit is going to be one of those priorities. It's something that we need to. We've got allocation in the budget this year. It's something that we need to initiate pretty quickly.
Understood. Mr. Carlin?
Sandy's got something.
Thank you. Does this involve a contract with Schneider?
Ultimately, yes, there will be a contract and agreement with Schneider. Yes, ma'am.
All right. What is the termination clause like?
I would presume that that would be a project per project contract.
Okay, thank you.
Yes? Mr. Carl?
Thanks. Move the city to engage the Schneider Electric for on-call energy sustainability services.
Second.
Arm wrestle? They need to arm wrestle.
We'll give that one to Mr. Waterman. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item E, discussion and possible action on the award of the Reservoir Road at Hickory Log Drive intersection improvement project to Wilson Construction Management in the amount of $858,647,088. Ms. Watson.
Thank you. So this is for the intersection and signal improvements at Reservoir Road and Hickory Log Drive. I did look up for Ms. McGrew how much the signal installation was itself, because you had asked that question. It's $266,000 of the entire amount. That doesn't include any of the grading or anything like that. It's just the installation of the signal. You're welcome. Staff does recommend approval of this contract to Wilson Construction Management in the amount of $858,647.88, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for clarifying that amount. Questions, comments?
Just want to note that we'll be remiss if we didn't note that Ms. Schmidt's not here.
Yes.
Right. This has been her baby, and
yes.
it's sad to be voting on it with her not here.
She's at
I
think she's at the school board meeting. So this is the traffic light at Teasley Middle School in case we have citizens and parents watching. So just to reiterate that.
And what will be Cherokee High School as well.
Yes.
So if there's anything else, I'd like to make a motion to approve the award of the Reservoir Road at Hickory Log Drive intersection improvement project to Wilson Construction Management in the amount of $858,647.88.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item F, discussion and possible action on request to abandon a portion of Jackie Moore Lane.
We mentioned this at the last meeting. Basically, we need some agreement from council to move forward with the abandonment of Jackie Moore Road as it relates to a particular project. We haven't given the notice yet.
So we'll have to bring it to the next meeting. But
vote.
your approval to go ahead and send the letters out.
That's correct.
Do we need to vote?
Not necessarily.
I think it'd be good just to say that you want to move forward with the process.
So we vote to approve to send the letter? Or
to instruct staff.
Because there are actually people on that, other than the developer, there are other owners, right?
On either end of the road.
On either end of the road. So we have to give them notice that we're abandoning it.
So Mr. Dyer, would you inform us what the motion should be?
To approve the staff beginning the abandonment process.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for the staff to begin the process of road abandonment of Jackie Moore Lane.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All members voted for the motion. I have no new business this evening. Mr. Peppers?
I have nothing.
He doesn't like to get flogged.
I'm a little stunned, but we do have a council introduced item. So,
Yes.
Mr. Carlin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each of you has a letter at your desk that I hastily put together here this afternoon. before the meeting, so please forgive any typos. We have back last in the spring of 2021, Mayor appointed myself, Ms. McGrew, and Mr. Estes at the time to the Sanitation Committee to start looking at the RFP process and selection of a new residential sanitation service. It was a trashy job, but we threw ourselves into it head first.
Trashy group.
It was a trashy group. Mr. Waterman then joined that group at the beginning of this year. I made a progress report on July the 1st of last year to give an update. At that time, we were doing budget, and we needed to increase the amount of the city was charging residents. The reasoning being, and I'll explain it briefly, the city has charged the same rate to residents for service, trash and recycling was combined for years. The cost to the city has increased steadily through the years, and we got to a point where we were not bringing in enough revenue for what we're charging residents to cover what we were being charged by the vendor, Waste Management. Knowing that that contract was only a one-year contract and it was up at the end of this year, we began working through the process of identifying what the residents' needs were to prepare for an RFP. Subsequent to that progress report, we did hold a town hall meeting to get some input from residents. And earlier this year, an RFP for residential service went out. There was a pre-bid meeting in March. We had 7 folks show up. Bids were due April 28th of this year. We only had 2 come through. The wisdom of Mr. Peppers and Mr. Ingram and the committee to ask not just for one proposal, but ask for different scenarios resulted in some good information, parsing out what it is that our residents would be paying for. You'll see on page 2 the proposals that were received as well as the waste management current rates. As you can see, as we anticipated, and from every conversation we had with waste management and any other sanitation group, everybody said prices are going up. The question was how much. So as you'll see on that chart that Mr. Ingram prepared, it shows what the increases would be. We had a meeting earlier this month to discuss these 3 scenarios. Different scenarios. First one, scenario number 1 is just like we do it now, combining trash and recycling. There would be a standard rate, there would be a senior rate, but trash and recycling would be joined into one cost. Keep in mind, in this scenario, that's just what the city would be charged. The city continues to be the middleman. There would be a charge on top of that we would have to charge residents. Cost scenario 2 breaks out the trash and the recycling so that a resident who did not want to recycle and for whatever poor reason that might be, that they would be able to separate the trash and recycling. That cost scenario 2 also would require a surcharge from the city for the city's involvement in set up, collection, maintenance, transfer of those accounts. Scenario number 3, however, was dealing with the provider working directly with the resident. That cuts the city out of the middle. And Mr. Peppers and Mr. Ingram informed us when a route gets missed, we have nearly a dozen city employees who are having to field calls and send and connect the resident with the vendor and who got missed and what the issue is. It's a time suck for those city employees who have plenty of other things to be doing. This proposal goes directly between the provider, the vendor, and the resident. Scenario number 3, also though from Waste Pro, they had a note in their proposal that they could offer some additional discounts. Those additional discounts, we didn't know what they were at the time. On May 3rd, so Mr. Ingram reached back out to get some more information and proper rates for those. Keep in mind this cost proposal number 3 does not have a surcharge. That would be the direct cost to the resident. On the page 3, I have those two alternatives broken out. Another one of Mr. Ingram's charts. We have alternative 3A, which would reduce the cost because recycling would be picked up every other week, but a larger can would be provided. So it would be a 95-gallon can, same size as the regular trash cans, not the smaller recycling container. By doing that, it would reduce the cost. Also, alternative 3B, in addition to the recycling, if they were allowed to use some of the automated arms on the side of the truck, which only requires a driver and doesn't require a second engineer on the back of the truck, they could reduce the cost further. Also in this alternative, or proposals 3, the city would be picking up yard debris and bulk items. We would be taking that on, which we are doing now for the most part because waste management can't get to them fast enough. After the committee met, we discussed, or in our last meeting, we discussed these alternatives, and we decided to vote out to full council the proposal alternative 3B. So you'll see that there, and that will be coming to the city, to the council for our January 2nd. June 2nd. How about January? You want to do it in June instead? Let's do it in June. I did not mention that since we would not be playing the middleman on those cost proposals, there would also be a 10% franchise fee that would be paid by the selected vendor if one of those was selected to the city. And our estimation is that's at least around $150,000, Mr. Ingram. Is that correct? Roughly. It'll be around those numbers. That would be paid to the city. I think the committee's expectation is that would help offset some of the extra costs we might have from the city going out running bulk items or yard waste. So that's scenario 3B as you review this letter. That's what will be here on June 2nd. The committee did report that out unanimously. Not really here. I'm certainly answer any questions right now, but I believe we'll have a full report on the 2nd as well. But want to get it on everybody's mind. If you have questions, please reach out. Thank you. I really want to appreciate Ms. McGrew, Mr. Estes for his time, Mr. Waterman for his time, and Mr. Peppers and Mr. Ingram, who certainly did a lot of heavy lifting on this, and really do appreciate hard work and clear numbers, because as you can imagine, as you get down into the dumps with these things, it can get hairy, and they help keep everything nice and clean.
Get trash.
I'm done. I'm good. Thank you.
Is that all? Thank you, Mr. Carlin. Great job. Appreciate your work, too, and appreciate Ms. Grew, Mr. Waterman's work, Mr. Peppers, Mr. Ingram. I know how much work he puts in this and how much he's put into it over the years. I was on this committee, I think, the last time. Ms. McGrew was also. And I know how much work it was the last time. I was not anticipating. I really was fretting this, but it looks like the committee has done some great work here. It's narrow. This is certainly not half as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I appreciate the great work on behalf of our citizens. So, and look forward to the final discussion and vote on June 2nd. So, thank you so much, Ms. McGrew.
I'd like to add that Mr. Ingram has some notebooks thick with information about Waste Pro. They're available to any council members who wish to read 60 or 70 pages and no more.
Trash notebooks.
There's trashy books and then there's trashy notebooks.
Okay. I actually have nothing to report tonight either, so I don't want to break the rhythm tonight, but I want to appreciate council's great work and how much we, again, got accomplished tonight and how quickly got it accomplished. I'm proud of the work that you guys are doing. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.